Good afternoon, everybody. My apologies for running a little bit late. Um, Welcome to this workshop with Temple City Council on September 5th, 2024. It's about 6 minutes after 3. We don't have any public comment. Okay. All right, we're going to move the agenda around just a little bit. You want to do number 1 first? Okay, so we're going to do number 1, then number 3, and then back to number 2. So number 1 is to discuss if maybe needed any regular meeting agenda items. So counselor, staff, anything that you guys need to talk about on the consent. We need to pull anything. Let's do the consent first. Anybody need to talk about it or pull anything from the consent for consideration? Mike, you're voting on everything too? Staff, anything on the consent? All right. Anything on the regular for anybody? Nothing? Nothing. Nice and clean. Very good. Now we'll move on then to number 3, which is to receive departmental updates from Housing and Community Development and Transform the Temple. Ladies.
Yay. No worries. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this will be sort of a almost year end. I did update the numbers this morning, so you've got fresh numbers on here. That should get us pretty close to the end of the year. So nobody has come on to our team or left our team. Yay.
Yes.
Same crew. We're tiny, but we're mighty. That's our team. Our mission is still the same, to provide programs that basically assist with neighborhood revitalization and improve the quality of life for all of our residents. Our primary focus areas, as you guys know, our housing resource team works with our housing improvement program and our rental reinvestment program to make minor home repairs on for people of low to moderate income in our community. We also have our housing resource center there. Through that program, the housing resource team works with outside agencies to find organizations to help with a variety of different programs. And again, really focusing on the low to moderate income citizens in our community. Our Home Maintenance Academy falls under that division, as well as the Good Neighbor program, and I'll talk more about this. Neighborhood planning is under Belinda Garcia. She works with Christina Strickland and a variety of other people within the city, including Buford and his team, Chad. And they're working on the Love Where You Live initiative, which I know you all are very familiar with. She's also in charge of our neighborhood coalitions and building those coalitions in each of our neighborhood districts, as well as the Neighborhood Leadership Academy. And I'll tell you some successes from those in a second as well. The grant management division is under Brittany Chopin, and she manages our inbound and outbound grant programs, as well as CDBG and our TDHCA funding. Last but not least, our homeless services division, and that one is primarily led by Mary McGlory, who happens to be vacationing in Greece right now. I know, super jealous. But she leads up our landlord engagement program, as well as our partnerships with the Salvation Army and Syntex for the SUD treatment program, and then Hilltop Recovery Ministries and a variety of other agencies as well. So some successes from this year, we have had 30 Good Neighbor clients assisted this year, which I think is a record. That's the most that we've ever helped. And those folks were assisted by 20 volunteers. So yeah, it's kind of lopsided. We had to double up on some clients with some volunteers just because we were a little low on folks this year. So if you know of anyone who wants to volunteer with that, let us know. We're still accepting volunteers. The program goes through the end of October. We've been able to close 37 housing improvement program cases this year, which I think is awesome. And those are, again, just a variety of different types of housing repairs, but all related to improving health and safety risks and threats to health and safety. And we've had 29 Home Maintenance Academy graduates this year. We've done that program a little bit differently and have been partnering with the library to do the programs there. And that, I think, has increased the exposure for the program. And it's also allowed us to have more of them. So he's doing them at sort of a quicker cadence than he used to do them and great feedback from the people that go through those. So they're really happy with the programming there. Storm cleanup was also a big area of focus for us. We worked with just folks from within the community that were interested in volunteering. This is a group from the Austin Diocese Seminary. These are all seminarians that came in to town to help out. And that was a massive tree. I tried to like show the scale with the picture, but and that's just one example of many, many areas that we were able to go in and clean up. While a lot of the folks were working with the nonprofits that came to town, and we had so many that came in and helped, we had a lot of just regular citizens that just wanted to help, or people, locals that were just like, just tell me if there's a way that I can help. So we were able to connect them with citizens that really needed the assistance. And it was a lot of fun to watch, really, really heartwarming to see that sort of outpouring of support. Our heart dedication was held earlier this year as well. We finally finished our first 4 houses. We're looking forward to starting some more. But we took the opportunity to do a dedication for those first 4 houses, and Miss Barbara Jones graciously hosted us at her house on 10th Street. And it was a great event, and we were able to really show our appreciation for everyone that came together to help see that program through to fruition for those four families. It really changed their lives just generationally. So wanted to just again thank the council for your support of that program and to providing that opportunity for those citizens. It was a really great day. Our grant management division has been doing a great job. I've got the numbers from the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. That was the total amount of funding that we received for those first 4 homes, $604,776. So we're very, very thankful to them for that, receiving that funding. And again, looking forward to doing more of that in the future. Our CDBG funding went down a little bit for next year, but we're still going to be able to maximize that and do some really great things in the community for next fiscal year. And
there's no way that we can influence the CDBG fund, is there? I mean, that's basically just a grant. We can't, show programs or efforts or anything. It's you just get what you get.
Well, there's a HUD formula of some sort.
Okay.
I'm not really sure if the secret sauce or
Right.
how they do the math, or
You can't move a decimal point or
I wish we could, but no. And I from what I gather, it's determined by poverty levels and percentages of your population numbers as well. So they have a metric that they use to determine what that funding is.
still nice to get it though.
It is. A little bit.
Do they look at the population of the whole for the city or for just for the area that you're requesting to raise for?
I believe it's the whole city, but they also look at the American Community Survey and determine what the low to moderate area of Temple is, and they provide that sort of area borders for us for our mapping and things like that. So there is an area that they tell us has a concentrated area of poverty. And so we can do a more focused sort of revitalization effort within that area too.
And do they look at the percentages of population in the city in different areas? So they make that comparison. Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome. And this was our first year for the Temple Community Partnership Program. And just as a reminder, and you guys are going to see that coming out for next fiscal year soon. We identified some priorities within the city, within our strategic plan that we wanted to accomplish with partner agencies in town. And we put out basically requests for partnerships. And it has worked really, really well. We've been able to see some really great programming, and we're hoping to be able to put together a really good report for you guys that shows the successes from this last year. And, but those will go through the end of December. So what we'll look for in the fall is the partnerships that would start in January. So after these end, we'll put together a good presentation and come back to you guys and show you the successes there.
At that point, you'll tell us some details about the Heritage and Arts grants.
Yes, ma'am. Sure will. Our Love Where You Live initiative is still rocking along. We are almost finished with Northwest Hills. We did the video and put that out, and I think Aaron brought that to you guys for your consideration as well. We're getting close to Oak Hills and East Downs, and so we're looking forward to wrapping those two up soon, but still moving right along. Belinda has been doing a great job with building our neighborhood coalitions. We're now up to 9. She has just been out just creating some really interesting ways of getting in front of people and enticing them to start a neighborhood coalition and be a champion in their neighborhood, and has really done a great job of also training the existing neighborhood champions and encouraging them to do different things. She just sent an email out earlier this week about the National Night Out that's coming up in October, and encouraging the neighborhood coalitions to get involved with that and to do an event in their neighborhood. And so just really great to see those things growing. She's also got some great plans for FY25 to develop some support materials for the coalition leaders, and hopefully that will also help to recruit some additional champions as well.
Nancy, are we doing anything about the misunderstandings from last year of people about whether the city's sponsoring certain things with Neighborhood Night Out or whatever it's called, National Night Out, sorry.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. That I think is a police department run program.
So
I don't know,
Yeah.
what was the misunderstanding? last
I don't know, I can't remember the details. There were just people that kept saying, I can't even remember what they were saying, but something about is city. Why aren't you doing it here? Bryn, do you remember any of the
Are you-
details?
well, Mayor, I think, was it related to the issue that the paper wanted to publish?
Yes,
the
that's it.
addresses,
I'm
but
sorry.
The party host didn't want their addresses published.
That's totally it. So we're just thinking about that in
That wasn't a
advance.
city
Well, Chief and,
generated issue. That was a
Yeah.
newspaper generated.
No, I didn't mean that. It was a city. It was. Okay.
Chief and I met with Mrs. Maynard.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, great. We had our Neighborhood Leadership Academy earlier this year, and appreciate those of you that were able to come out for that. We did have 36 graduates this year. Belinda's already brainstorming the theme for next year, and I think it's going to be even better, really focusing more on empowering the citizens to do things in their own neighborhood, like showing them how they can supplement our efforts and really lend a hand to make a difference in their neighborhood. So we're looking forward to seeing what she comes up with for that. Our neighborhood identification program, I hope you've seen some of the new signs that are going in. They're just beautiful. We're so excited. We should be wrapping that up soon. We had a progress meeting this morning, and they're working on sort of nailing down what that the hopeful completion date is for that. So I'll definitely let y'all know as soon as we know. We're going to try to make a big deal of it and do some sign dedications or something fun to get the neighborhoods excited. But completing Ferguson Park, Crestview, Historic, and Bel Air. And then we're working on just putting a bow on the construction documents for phase 2, which will be Midtown Garden, Jackson Park, and Temple Heights. And then they're also working on a proposal for phase 3. So we're just going to continue rolling on with those. And as I said earlier, appreciate council support in funding that effort. Our Homeless Services Division has been very busy. We have several different programs going on right now. We have a contract with the Salvation Army to provide 10 program beds, meaning program programs tied to helping people find employment, get into housing, get their IDs, whatever they need to get to that self-sufficiency level. So 10 program beds and then 10 overflow beds. So when the program beds are full, we have some temporary beds that don't have any services, but that allow folks to get in off the street and sleep on a cot until one of the program beds is available. We have, I think, 3 cots available right now. So we have all of the program beds are full, and we have 7 cots currently occupied. We have been working very, very heavily in encampments, current encampments, and have had quite a bit of I think, I'm going to call it success. We've had quite a bit of success to encourage folks to get off the street and into programming. And we're trying to find ways to help get them, I guess, sort of excited about making big changes in their lives. So we're continuing to work on that. We also, with that, have the contract with Syntex. Currently, we have 3 enrolled in that program. We have seen 9 graduate to housing, which is really fantastic, and a total of 16 participants with that one. So we're working to try to make big changes, which is not always an easy thing for folks to do, but we're encouraged by the successes we have seen. We also are working with Family Promise to do some homelessness prevention, and that has been really successful. They've prevented 9 families from becoming homeless and have provided emergency shelter for 8 families at the Family Promise house. So that, I think, is a program that we want to continue to support, and we do have some funding identified for them for next year to continue that, because it is very, very meaningful work.
Nancy, before you go on, I just want to take a second to brag on you and your team for your work yesterday. We had a gentleman that we're dealing with in our office for a claim, but he is homeless. Used to live in his car, but it was impounded a few months ago, so he's been on the street, is our understanding, and he has a dog. And he was having a crisis moment yesterday morning. He had, I guess, gone for a couple of days without eating, stuck out in the rain, drenched, then his dog food got wet and destroyed, and he couldn't find anyone who would let him in to use the restroom, and just, thing on top of thing. And he was calling around the various city departments, and he was very upset and not very polite, as you can imagine, upsetting quite a few people. And first, I want to brag on Tragedy in my office, because even though he had been yelling at her, not nicely at all, and she could have just ignored him, she was working hard to find someone who could help, gave Nancy a call, and she and her team just jumped right on it, and within a matter of hours had him and his dog in a hotel for 7 days with food for both and money for laundry and a place to kind of reset, and then setting him up with the resources that hopefully, he can use to get himself back on track. Just good work.
Thank you. Update on him, he has an appointment with social work in the morning, which is phenomenal. So, and he's excited about it, which is, I think, even more phenomenal. So hopefully moving in the right direction.
So I just wanted to take that opportunity as a real life, real time example of Nancy and her team. And
Yeah, appreciate that. Our tenant-based rental assistance program is going really, really well. We currently have 6 applicants that we're working with. 5 have been housed. So these people came from the street and are now in a home. So we're super, super excited about that. And then we have 1 that's being processed. We just need to find the right location for her. Mary McGlory is just incredible. I call her Mary Super Sleuth McGlory, because she is relentless in finding a landlord that will work with these clients regardless of their rental history, regardless of their current situation. And she just won't stop until she finds it. And it's amazing. She has found parents, she found the parent of one of our ladies that was experiencing homelessness. She had severe mental health issues, and her father was, I guess, separated from her when she was young, and but had always been looking for her apparently. He ended up in Elgin. Mary found the man in Elgin, was able to work with a caseworker to talk to the man and the daughter and the caseworker, and they all got together. The man came and picked her up and took her home with him from the street. She was sleeping under a tree. That's Mary, y'all. She is got like fine guy in Elgin. And it wasn't even, she just called people. She just started calling. She talked to, I think there was an aunt that maybe gave her the name of the father and the date of birth, and maybe just maybe a general geographic area that he might be in. She just kept calling until she found him. I know. It was amazing. It was amazing. And that's just one example. She'll find nursing homes that are willing to help people. She'll track down their medical records for them. She's incredible. So really hope she's enjoying it. She has earned it for sure. So looking forward, we do have our TDHCA contract up for renewal right now. It has been signed by our side. We're just waiting for it to be fully executed on the TDHCA side. That will give us more opportunity to do more HARP projects and TVRA for the next 3 years. So we're looking forward to that. We have El Paseo District Cleanup event on September 21st. If anyone wants to come and help us out, that'll be fun. Belinda is using that as an opportunity to find a neighborhood coalition champion in El Paseo. So if you know of anybody that lives there, let them know that they can be our next champion.
We know somebody.
He would be great.
He would be a great one.
He would. I mentioned
Is he
National
here
Night Out.
today? Down here? My gosh, he picked today not to be here. He's usually here.
I mentioned National Night Out. We also have Day of Caring. That's a project through the United Way that we support with a variety of projects in the community. So that'll be fun. Home Maintenance Academy is October the 12th, and Make a Difference Day is November. It's actually, Make a Difference Day is the prior Saturday, I think it's like August the 26th, but we're bumping ours to November 2nd because we're hoping to do a Brighten the Block project with one of our neighborhood coalitions to use the paint that they receive on Hazardous Waste Collection Day, which is the same day as Make a Difference Day. So a week later, we want to reuse the paint to paint some houses. Yeah, so that's what we're hoping to do with that. And then also we're planning to move out of the HPO, and I'm sure Buford will be able to tell you all a little bit more about that because of the renovations at some point in the midst of all of that. I think we're hoping to be out of there by the end of October.
Where are you going?
We will be going to the Patsy Luna building at Wilson Park.
I have maps in
I'm-
my presentation. I'll show you with arrows and circles.
There you go.
So you'll be temporarily in the Patsy Luna building.
Yeah, but I think the facilities master plan has us living there full-time forever moving forward.
So you're moving home.
Yeah. We're excited about it. It's a really great location,
Yes,
very
it is.
quiet. It has squirrels, and birds, little kids, walking trail. Yeah.
Right? In the building.
In the building.
Well, raccoons. Awesome.
Any additional questions? All right, thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Nancy. You pour your heart into what you do, and you know we all appreciate that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All of you. do.
Sure.
Thank you all. This is, we just have our numbers. Actually, this is my fault. My team didn't give me the numbers through August. I've been working on 5 different presentations, and when I got here, Kelly told me I actually had 2 with the same name in the file. So this is a mystery to me too. So we'll see. I hope it's not like emails I sent to Don. But I think we'll be okay. Me too. I may not have a job.
Does it say bring the beer?
No, ma'am, I wouldn't say that. No presentation. So just going back over, our group. This is our breakdown. On the left side is basically the downtown and our special projects team, run by Chad and, his coordinator, Henry, who's great. One of our better hires, I think, overall, although we have a bunch of good people. And then on just next to there, the crew lead, Roger, that's our Mo crew. Angel and Edward support Roger. Code compliance, y'all all know Tom, or should. If you don't, we are fully staffed, and our newest code officer is Hunter Miles. I think he was ex-military. I don't know what he is. He's a real go-getter. And like so many new officers who are real go-getters, you have to kind of rein him in a little bit. He's very interested, wants to help, is getting into stuff he shouldn't be. So we'll just dial back just a little bit. We'll get you there. He hadn't even been here 6 months. Brittany's team is, we have full-time admin, Daphne and Teresa Stockton, who both Daphne but mostly Teresa run our tool library. And then Mark Jesse, who you all have all met, has 2 parking enforcement officials under him, Jocelyn, and our newest is Tara. When I gave this presentation to department heads and leadership, I didn't know Tara's last name, so I just said Tara something, but her last name is actually more. I figured that out in the past, 2 months, so I'm feeling good about myself.
Buford also told me as we were walking upstairs today that I was probably gonna get a parking ticket for my 4 parking job today. So Jocelyn and Tara will probably give me a ticket about right now.
Jocelyn's out right now. She just had a baby, 2 months old, 3 months. 2 months old.
We have stuff on it.
Yes. And she's the
Apparently, if you back into an angled spot, you're in big trouble, but I don't have that problem. I don't back in, so
Ren said, I can't even park going head in, much less back in.
clearly.
Um,
Look at this parking job.
The rumor is that the court, or at least the clerks, are a little frustrated with us because our tickets have been gone from 0 to, I don't know, like 100 last month so it's a deal. We've added work onto them. And that's one of those long time things that I forget about, but when you add work on one end, especially, compliance and going after violations and stuff, you also add work just on the other end with the court and stuff. So, and I'm talking slow today because I was told I have an hour and a half basically to do, so you'll just have to bear with me. Projects team, y'all see them out there. This past 5 months, we have done 10 board ups of houses for our infill program. We have 7 applications. In sign abatement, we've had 832 of those. I'll have some of these slides get into that a little deeper. Our tool library is going great. Oh, you were talking. Okay, I thought you were hinting me. Tool library is going great. Once again, that's Teresa Stockton with support from Brittany and Daphne. A lot of transactions, a lot of tools getting checked out, and new patrons coming in all the time. 253 total patrons, and about that many tools, individual tools in our library. We buy some and then they get broken or whatever. But we do have a guy on staff, Adrian, who fixes what he can and cobbles stuff together. He's really doing a good job with that.
Any of them walk off?
Chad?
We've had a handful, just patron left it outside and came back out, and it was lawnmowers, weed eater. But I've been here
A couple of years.
It's been 7 years that I've been here, and that's happened maybe 5 times.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, very low.
It's not,
Very low.
it's not rampant.
Yeah, I think we're very lucky, or we have a good clientele. I'm not sure what it is, but I think people really appreciate the opportunity to use the tools, and therefore they take care of them because they are, in essence, their tools.
Right.
So dumpster drop, we've done several. That says we've done 4 + 3 is 7. So, but we've done more than that. We do about 1 a month. And occasionally, if Nancy's team has something going on, we try to move it around a little bit to work with a cleanup or add one in there. So our totals, we've done 12 tons of junk and debris, and to Justin Brantley's frustration, we pulled 413 tires from those dumpster drops. As an aside, I always talk about, we think that there's some commercial people dumping tires. We know in our, as my mom would say, in our heart of hearts, that there are people dumping tires from businesses. Well, last go around, some neighbor called and said, hey, there's a business dumping tires. And we said, oh, really, who? And so we tracked him down. I went, Mary, we ran him down, only in a different sense. And they came and picked him back up, I think, or as far I understood, they came and got their tires, which is a big deal. We've also purchased some cameras that we're going to try to figure out how to attach. Hopefully won't get stolen.
Like wildlife, like wildlife.
Yeah, we're going to try to hide them or do
Good
whatever we
idea,
can.
yeah.
Put them up all on poles and just kind of identify, and maybe even put a sign like, you're on camera, don't drop off, tires if you're not supposed to, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway.
Do you have problems with people hanging out at dumpsters? I dropped some
Dumpster
stuff off and there were several people there to welcome me.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Like to help you unload stuff, or to say,
But you dropping off.
Like, I couldn't even get out of the
so we're
jumped up in the truck.
So we're exacerbating a different problem. Let's work on that. Let me talk to you about that. Yeah, no, I have not heard that. Great things
Sorry,
right here in front of.
sorry, sorry.
So miscellaneous trash, just off the street in the cruise downtime, 42 tons. I don't believe that number, but I counted it twice and they're Chad's numbers. And he said, yes. Abandoned homeless camps. And these are often camps that we've called, well, always camps that we've called Nancy. She's pulled in her heart team. Is that right? And they go out and work with the people and find a place for them to go. Stuff is left. And so we've worked on 30 camps, and from those camps, stuff that was left, 16 tons. And what do you get? There it is right there. Neighborhood events, we've already said 12 tons. And then miscellaneous off the street, city lots, 14 tons. So that adds up to 42. That's our yard right there, by the way. That roll off is just miscellaneous stuff off the street. Here's the infill program, 7 infill projects. A couple over on Mardine, which is East Temple, way East Temple, and South 40th. Those were interesting ones. Those are the ones you're seeing right here over in Crestview. We found out after we'd approved the Mardine ones that actually the people who were building it were in a conversation with who they thought was the owner of the property. But in the meantime, Brittany noticed, because I don't think somebody's going to build a house on a piece of property if they don't have clear title to it. But apparently we need to start really making sure that they have clear title to it. Brittany caught it at the last county auction, and the people who were going to build there went and purchased those 2 properties from the county. So now they do have title, they own the property. So it worked out well. A little scary there for a second. See, I told them myself there. And then a few more that we're working on. We also work with Habitat on some of these. They have 2 or 3 projects. Abatement had a total of over 1,034 high grass cases. We've mowed our city properties 478 times, and that's a total of 170 city properties that we own or the Temple Revitalization Corporation owns. 494 code orders to mow, and then 2 of those 494 we actually had the 237 got mowed. We're always behind that number, so 494 is the total. We're currently right now sitting on a list of about 200. That right, Chad? Yep. 200, maybe a little more that we're gonna mow, which last month, this time was almost 300. So the guys have really hit it hard over this past month. We shifted some personnel around. And some of those were owner mode and 142 mode. One thing I did want to bring to y'all's attention is that in 2017, when basically we started tracking some of this, Chad, is that when you got hired? Yeah. When Chad started tracking, to be clear, we had 68 active properties that we mowed for the city of Temple. So that's 68 that every month we go out and mow. Then we had 14 additional that were under construction. My assumption is, well, along, where was that one over? I can't even remember now. Yeah, the U Street, Avenue U project maybe was still going on back then. So those are properties that we bought to build a street for CIP project. Since 2017, we have gone from 68 to 170 city or TRC owned properties that we are in charge of for a monthly mow. And a third of those are CIP projects. So Avenue C project, which I always harp on, but Avenue C, we have not started construction. We have owned some of those properties for 2 years, year and a half, 2 years, and we mow them every month if it needs it. Bren's guidance has been, we have to be in compliance. So we make sure we keep our mows under the 9 inches that are dictated. So that's a huge increase in just, 7 years?
Do you use any type of herbicides?
We do, I forget what it's called, basically Roundup. It's a knockoff Roundup.
This weed control?
Yes, ma'am. Not for lots, just weed. We have gallons of it, boxes and boxes that stuff stacked up. And they go, what's it called?
Ranger Pro.
Yeah, basically the same chemical. And we mostly use that downtown, Tracy, and for streets and stuff. Tires, 413 from events, and then off street, 372. That's just driving around, seeing some tires and picking them up. A lot of tires. And Justin's not happy with us. I forget what his number was, $2,000 to dump one of those trailer, and I don't know how many trailers. So we are definitely adding to his workload. So once again, one of those flow through things. Yeah, we're doing great picking up a bunch of tires and now Justin's stuck with it. But rather have them than in our trailer and off the street than just sitting around in empty lots. And there's more than enough of them out there still. Signs, 832. Those are the We Buy Houses or whatever signs. Those gun show signs. That's right. Gun show in Killeen, Bell County Expo. So bunch of those signs.
Do you recycle those signs?
No,
What do you do with, just toss them?
we cut them up and throw them away. Yeah. That's a great question. What an idiot I am. Yes, we should be recycling them. Great. There's
I
three.
did the same,
You, me.
I did the same material as the political signs.
Sure. Yes, probably.
Justin would take them. He took all of them.
He's already
I
mad.
mean,
He's already mad. He took all.
He took them all, well, I mean, I took them to him.
I will talk to him.
And there's some organization like we do a walk and we have the miles that they're getting where we can recycle some of those and put,
I am happy to give these signs
not all of them.
to some, no. Some of these signs to people I trust, but I don't trust you, of course. But we have found people, when they're in the bed of our truck, we have found them, these people come and dig through our truck and get the signs out and reuse them. Or if we throw them away after 5 o'clock, they'll come drive down our alley, pull them out of the trash can and use them again. Because they cost them a couple of bucks. You do that too, Richard?
I
What?
just wondered if the signs that Susan threw away were they yours?
I didn't throw them away. I took them.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, were they yours or were they your opponent?
Oh, they were mine, but I didn't tell him where he could take them.
Oh, okay. I think you said you told him where you got it. Oh, no.
I did not.
No, you
I
did.
did it politely.
Yes, ma'am, you did. That was-
Yeah, from the road, cause they all go to the tech stop, pick up their signs every month.
Yeah, Yes, we picked up some realtor and builder signs before and certainly heard about it, as you can imagine. We try to hold on to them for a little while, especially if they're folks we know, and then we'll use that as a,
Education.
yeah, try to, but you know, Mike and I know that they know what the rules are. They're, as you say, they run out there Monday morning and pick them up. So, all right, case count, this is just interesting. I thought I would show you all these numbers. These are October through February, so that's just standard. Those are numbers. They run like that pretty much year by year. We do track it. So if we add in the next few months, so this 77 on the far right, which is the highest number, is this right here. So in March. So what happens in March? Grass starts growing. So boom, high grass cases. That's how much that jumped up. And then we had an issue in May, which we started getting at in June and July, and that's in the other column. That's all the storm
Sure.
related activities. So we've had some conversations about that. Those are all cases that were added because of storms. So it runs along 35, 19, 43 substandard houses or whatever. And then boom, 341 and 565 in 1 month. We had 2 or 3 guys for hours and hours and hours driving around looking at storm grading houses, reaching out to tenants, putting flyers on. And now we're in the process of saying, hey, what we could see from the outside looked like you need a permit. We don't see that you pulled a permit. We may be mistaken. We understand it, but maybe you should call in and let's work through it. So it's tough. Demos, we finally got done with the Juki slabs. That's where we took it on back months ago. That was in the middle of all that concrete. And this is right before they were done. They're still pulling up those railroad tracks that ran through the middle of the property. That took probably too long, but we got it done and it was a huge job. So we're happy about that. Code compliance, this luckily enough is right up the street from my house. We red tagged 8 houses. Once again, a reminder, red tags mean that the structure is not safe, does not necessarily mean, or there's something wrong. There's electrical, something needs to be addressed in the house. Does not necessarily mean that we're planning on tearing it down. This one we're tearing down. This is one up on Lamar, at, like I said, right up the street from my house first.
Somebody was in that when it.
They were in there and fire had to go get them out. It was bad. It was scary. And I assume it just slipped off the old cedar post or whatever.
Pretty old house though.
Mhm.
Would have been nice to, been able to maintain it.
If somebody had addressed it 30 years ago
Yeah.
or 20, or, I think we'd have been in better shape. Right now, there's no, it's gone. So we're working on getting it through our BSC and demoing. One thing I did want to say about the demos, and Nancy was talking about the LMI. So just so y'all know, the low to moderate income designations that we get from the CDB that we have mapped. So any demos that we do using CDBG dollars are supposed to be within, just in general, are supposed to be within those LMI boundaries. So that is why we have asked, and y'all have given us, and we appreciate it, extra money to demo outside of those LMI boundaries. We can do some spot blight outside, but it's a real pain. And so just having access to some funding that allows us to tear down outside of those LMI areas. Outside does not, just because you have an area that's LMI and some other areas that are not, does not mean everything's fine if it's not LMI. That's not true. We all know there are pockets and there are places where there are substandard houses, even in nicer neighborhoods. So.
So I know all
Yes, ma'am.
homes are different, but what would be the average cost of a tear down?
12, 15,
Yeah, 12, 15,000.
assuming no asbestos. Asbestos can add 10 grand.
Yeah, double it.
Do we salvage, do you all salvage things like the posts or whatever you call them?
Once we give it, so no, it's not our property. So we can't go take stuff. Once we assume that whoever's demoing takes that into account as they demo. So if there's a lot of metal, they'll probably figure into their costs that they'll recycle some of that and make some money on.
Those are nice pillars.
They, yes, ma'am. They would have, they were at one point. Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
they could be scraped and redone. A lot of wood filler, get rid of the termites.
Or I could build,
Painting.
I could build
Or just
new.
build a new one.
But they aren't old. This is
No,
old,
but
nice old
I could hit them
wood.
with a hammer and Case information, there's a huge number. For code compliance, almost 2,700 cases started. Notices of violation, that's about 1,500, and then registered letters, which means we're either going to tow your car or we're sending you to court or something like that. We actually send registered, 102. So I'm pushing it, aren't I? Downtown parking, this is what Bren was talking about, 145 improper parking violations. That's parking facing the wrong direction in the street, or parking over the line, Bren, or I don't know what else.
On the curb.
Yeah, hopping up on the curb, stuff like that. We have finalized, so 0 time violations. That means we're not giving out any right now for parking for over 2 hours. We have finalized both garages. We're working with IT, although we may have most of our issues settled there. So, and legal. Well, IT and finance for EV stations, that's the electric vehicle stations, the license plate recognition cameras, ticketing, software and hardware. Still training another PEO, but to be honest, Tara Moore, not Tara something, has really come on like gangbusters. I think she's been here a month and she's going crazy. And then we're still tracking parking patterns. So moving forward with downtown parking, we're hoping to open the 4th Street Garage. Once again, this corner that you're seeing between it and the On, that's where our elevator shaft is. In order to get people up and down and without them walking down the ramps or down the stairs, we need this open. Right now, if you're in a wheelchair trying to come down out of the garage, you would be dropped off in that elevator on a construction site. So we can't do that. So that's our biggest holdup right now. Still working with legal on Chapter 37. I know those are coming up. Parking fee structure still to be determined. I've showed you all some of that, and cash payment. I've showed you all some of those numbers. We're getting back into it. David and I were talking about that earlier in the week. Installing garages, the EV stations are installed. We're finalizing the credit card information with finance. And then the LPR cameras, my understanding is most of the cameras are installed. A few aren't, may not be, but that's mostly because of construction. Shouldn't take long. I think everything's good to go. It just, you don't want to put them in right now. Mobile LPR, that means the ones that are on our little vehicle, they're installed. Parking permits, we're waiting on our credit card stuff with finance. And then we're working with the streets to Public Works to get the sign shop to get the miscellaneous 15-minute parking and some 2-hour parking signs that we still need. So we need, like, First Street doesn't have any 2-hour parking. Right now it's the Wild West over there. So we need to get some of those installed. So our goal with parking, this is probably the order we'll be doing it in, is we're going to start with hourly street parking, which is just making sure and patrolling for the 2-hour signs that are currently up. So you 2-hour parking, just like it was, Jessica, when you and I were kids, and just as it is. So then the EV stations, which are good to go, we just need to work out the payment portion of it. We're trying to work then on we'll be working on, and all this is really happening at the same time, garage and street permitted parking. So we are going to offer some permits for people to park in the garage if you live downtown, or possibly some business. I've talked to y'all about that before as well. To try to get people to park in the garage, so long term. And then metered street parking, which will then get rid of those 2-hour signs. You actually have a meter app that you pay, and it's 2 hours free parking, and then you can continue to park there for $1 or $2 or whatever it is. And
Can you prepay and load it?
You can that's right. I think you can prepay on these, and it just automatically.
You can prepay, and you can also set it up to give you notifications. Like if you're in the restaurant and you're running up on your time limit, your phone can ping you and say, hey, you've got 15 minutes left. Do you want to add more? Or
You sure you want that dessert?
run the risk. Yeah. And then you could then just from the restaurant, from your phone, add a little additional time to it.
When I was in high school, I worked at what is now the library, the bank there, for Bill Wilson, who may still be in there. And the ladies who worked in the office at like, we opened at 8 or 9, I don't know when they, but 2 hours, an hour and 50 minutes after we opened, everybody had to take turns running downstairs to move their car. It was kind of chaos. It was like, what's going on? Where's everybody going? Oh, we gotta go to work. Do you do that too? Is that what you're saying?
I used to at some places. Is there a plan for like a monthly rate?
Yes.
If you know you're gonna park there every day, come to work, can you just get a monthly pass?
That's the permit. That's a permit process. Yes, sir. We haven't worked out all the details, but that is part of it. If you work downtown, then parking in the garage, not on the street, but in the garage. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's down the line. There's no way south. Moving forward with CIP, these are 2 downtown buildings. This is old liquor store down at, what is it, B and? A and MLK. So we own that now. And we've done asbestos testing about to take it down. Central is what we meant to say. And
So
then this
you're
one,
gonna demo it?
yes, ma'am,
Okay.
unless you want it.
No,
Okay.
thank you, but no.
And this is right across the street from Mac's office. And so we're demoing that. We were kind of on both of these going to wait till the project got going a little further and we kind of figured out how it was all going to go. But we started having break-ins and it's never a good idea. It's just an attractive nuisance. So let's get rid of them. Old Langfield property, we need to spend some money and put topsoil and temporary, and seed and temporary, irrigation, sorry. On this, we're still working through that. I think Chad and I got that cranked back up this week. Code, same stuff we've been doing, just more of it.
You didn't have a picture of the the 13th Street, did you?
13th, I'm sorry.
Go back one. Oh, never mind.
Department, we're still doing management training. Make me feel bad, Susan. Did I not address something? Okay. Chapter 37 update, parking fee structure. I'm going to Pittsburgh, I think, in a couple of weeks to visit Andy Warhol Museum. I'm excited about that. And I'm excited about giving this presentation to the ICMA, working with Natalie regarding the tool library. They accepted our plan for that. So we'll be talking about how we work together with our library on our tool library and how to kind of get one started and what we do. We're planning a resource center, which is going to compile recycling, some of Nancy's stuff that she's teaching, trying to, Susan, for houses that we do purchase, trying to save some of those architectural elements.
Good.
That is Kelly's big push. And then we'll have our tool library there as well. And possibly some stuff from the library like C library and stuff like that. And then the HPO is moving. So we're moving to the FH Milto building. Over in the park. Actually, it's Jeff Hamilton building. You can see it. I was assured, Gary told me that they will be replacing those numbers, actually correctly labeling it. And there's that map. So we're going to the FH Milto building and Nancy will be right next door at the Patsy Luna building. And
Is that a permanent move?
not for us, no, ma'am.
No,
Well,
you're coming back when,
that's not really up to me. But
Oh.
when Tracy and Bryn tried to kick me out of my building before, I fought it pretty hard. So I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it to them. So it sounds like we'll be coming back. We're spending a lot of money on the HPO. They're ripping the roof down. I thought I had a photo, but I don't. Ripping the roof off, saving all those tiles. It was amazing. Watch what a dozen guys up there tossing tiles down and stacking them neatly on the ground. And they've replaced rotten lumber. So there's money going into the HPO, and I hope they let us move back in. It'll be nice to have an AC that doesn't break down every summer, right at the beginning of summer every year, and a heater that doesn't break down right at the beginning of winter.
Elevator.
And an elevator that doesn't go something.
Then your complaint time, but please keep on with.
You didn't talk about the.
My puppy,
Yes, that's what I want. That's my question. Is
right
that,
there.
that's your new puppy?
That is my new puppy.
Oh,
So the guys, Hunter, the new code guy, was out with one of our other code officers on an eviction. So that's one thing that we really tried to crack down on recently. The state law says you have to give people a reasonable amount of time to pick that stuff up off the street. We had been giving them days and days if we knew anything. I think we've gotten that down to 24 hours. Like if you put stuff on the street, they have 24 hours. That seemed reasonable to us. If you put my stuff out on the street, I'd be there right now picking it up. So in the process of one of these evictions, they found a little dude in a closet.
oh.
And so that must have been the day I took him home. And that was a couple of months ago. He was 6 pounds, and I said, "Oh, well, I'll foster him for a while." Well, we know how fostering puppies. So now I have a dog. And he was 6 pounds here. I took him to Ghazni a couple weeks ago. He was 26 pounds, and I think he's bigger than that now. So he's huge. And he's kind of a jerk, but he's very sweet and much larger. Django, D-J-A-N-G-O, Django. After the guitar player, not the movie. And that's it.
So he was just the closet door closed and just abandoned in the house in the closet.
So I can't think about it too much because it breaks my heart.
Yeah, it does. Me too. It's just.
So I can't think about the kind of
Okay,
person who
sorry.
would do that. So I'm going to say no. It was, he snuck in,
No.
but that's not what.
Close the door.
Yeah, and shut the door. Yeah. He's smart, dude. Any questions? Sorry.
Thank you, Beaver.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Appreciate y'all's support.
You can get Buford to take a mattress. If you get a hold of him almost at 5 o'clock in the morning, away from the new school. School department was very grateful. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah.
Really, really kind of you. You and Chad went out and did it before dawn, I think.
Our team did. Thank you for letting us know. Yeah, that's important to look good when we have things like
And very
that happen.
important to
Yeah.
the school department. Thanks.
Thank you for letting us know. We try to go look at that stuff. You know, when we know about a grand opening, we
There's
just,
10 minutes, you know.
well, whatever. We appreciate the phone call.
Well, they appreciate you.
All right, we're gonna take a short break. Let's all be back at 10 after, please.
Now they're gonna do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Part right now.
yes.
Yeah, it's going up to explain.
We are.
Everybody.
Started.
Yeah.
Are you concerned about me? Oh, yes.
But then you.
I don't know.
After 8 minutes.
There.
Yeah. Well, my team, we're gonna
Take more time.
and if we don't have like.
I was thinking-
People have.
Yeah, that's all right.
Where?
Okay. You're in now, yeah. I was.
That's. And it's a different, although.
Like, he's rude and be like, oh. Yeah, we can't find for their.
And I don't see it. I'm wondering if every hour later.
Got plan, right?
See if we see it, because I may have put it in a folder, which I was wondering if it makes it not show up.
Yeah, so there's absolutely.
You see.
No, just see if you can see it.
It's yeah. I think that should.
Did mention.
Okay, so they must be, will be sitting there open.
Sorry, I was on the. Sorry.
That's what I just. Yeah, he, and he said.
Sure. And then could you print it and stamp it and notarize the stamp? Is that legal? They let you do that? Yes. You are a problem. And give it to me.
Yeah. So I have.
That's the work you get from your work.
So, I know, right? And it's only right. Yeah. I'm here with we have an issue with this. Right now, I need to go.
It's so good, isn't it?
Right here, HR, yeah, it's only this one. I don't know. I don't know who put it up. We talked about it the other day.
Oh, yeah. Probably see you.
I don't know.
All right, so let's dive in for a discussion regarding amendments to the UDC code. And Kelly, are you up on this one?
Yeah, yes, sir. All right, well, I'm a little sad that I have to follow Buford's puppy presentation, but here we go. So you all had asked to have some time to discuss some of the items found. It says UDC, but really it's also in our code of ordinances on RV parks and land lease communities. We've seen several of these cases coming forward here recently, so I did bring my team who has some cases pending movement from you all coming up. So just threw a little bit of information together on some slides, basically looking at our RV parks, maybe some of the current concerns we've heard from council, our boards, and also residents, but, you know, looking at things such as long-term residential, code compliance, the age of the RVs and the condition, and then access and traffic safety to these locations. And then when considering land lease communities, also, you know, health and safety issues, code compliance concerns, the age, again, of the units that are in these communities, expansion of these communities, and then also looking at if there's variations to, you know, what we think about double and single wide and what our code says about that. So just basically brought in our definition for our RV park. And so basically it's just a place for transient use and temporary parking of RVs. And it doesn't allow for, the way it's set up right now, the only long-term structures are the ones just for accessory uses to the RV park itself. And then in section 31, it does allow for inspections and compliance with our chapters in the code of ordinances. And then I think one of the concerns that we had heard also, and Jason added this in there just to talk about fencing and what might be required for RV parks moving forward.
Are we, since that's in our ordinance, are we allowed to do that now?
For the fence, so.
The materials?
So yes, we've actually had some conversations with Kyle on this, and we are moving forward with the interpretation that yes, we can look at materials on the fence. It's not really looking at a building, you know, structure per se. We feel comfortable. We did look at other communities and see how they're pushing, you know, fencing materials, and it seems like other communities are still regulating the materials. So feel comfortable with that as well. So we did do a little bit of poking around in some other communities and what they say about RV park and their regulations. So it's really all over the place. I mean, nobody really has a good solid hold on this, it looks like. So a lot of them have, you know, special use permits that are required. Some of them have maximum stays, which is really odd because the ones that had maximum stays listed in their code didn't really have any way to say that they enforce it. But then others say that they want to enforce, you know, how long people can stay, but then they didn't list how long people can stay. So it was just very interesting to see how that read in the code. But again, just, you know, residential occupancy has been pretty much prohibited in all of these case cities that we looked at. And then Jason put together some information here, and he could probably go into more detail on this if you all have some questions on that. But a lot of them looking at the age of the RVs, you know, just have some type of policy in place. But I think some of it has been left to like a discretion. You know, you have some of the old Airstream RV units that have been completely remodeled, and they're just probably nicer than brand new ones you pull off the lot. So really the age of the unit might not be as much of the question as really the condition, and more of the safety concerns. And then moving into land lease, but I guess this is probably a good time. I think probably there's more concerns or more discussion around the RVs than maybe the land lease community. So I want to give some time now before we move on to land lease to, you know, take some questions or discussion or that, so we can kind of kick that off. So really just looking for some feedback from you all on how we can integrate some of these things into our code and then review appropriately with cases that are coming in.
So if you wanna just, give it some thought and we can, talk more as well, that's great too. We just wanted to appreciate Kelly and her team for putting together this presentation. And she's got more, but just to kind of center a conversation and then when you have time to think about it, we can come back and have additional discussion. Not to say you can't discuss right now, but
We're here.
if you're not ready, that's fine too.
Is there any way to include any language at all about impact or how an RV park fits into the surrounding community? I'm not saying that well, but fits in or doesn't fit in. Impact, I mean, beyond obviously the things that we've got here.
Current zoning is what? For an RV park?
For RVs, it has to be AG with a CUP.
Oh, ag.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
With the
CUP
CUP
process.
as well.
It's probably our discretion part.
So the ag, if somebody came in asking to rezone from ag, then it becomes at the council's discretion whether that fits into the area or not.
Well, no RV park is allowed by right because every RV park requires a conditional use permit. But the conditional use permit can only be awarded in property that's zoned ag. So if someone was looking to construct an RV park on a piece of property that was not currently zoned ag, they would first they would have to request a rezoning to ag, which is honestly extremely unusual. Usually we're rezoning from ag to something else. And then also request you consider a CUP. If the property that they are looking at developing into an RV park is already zoned ag, they still have to come to you to get approval for the CUP. So all RV parks come to you one way or the other, but they can only be constructed right now in ag districts, which, are typically in more rural areas, but it's also the kind of the default holding zoning category. So like something coming in through annexation would typically enter as ag, but again, nothing's by right. It would still require, based on our current ordinance, it would still require your approval through a CUP.
But that doesn't apply directly to expansion of existing.
Yes. They would also have to have a CUP to expand.
Okay. Because that certainly has been something we've been concerned about.
If they want to expand beyond what's already allowed. So, I mean, I guess there's a chance that they had it originally approved for this, but they only built this, then they could expand as long as it's within the.
Oh, okay.
What was allowed by the CUP.
Because the CUP will carry that site plan. So if they're, we're approved for, I'll use the one example. If they were approved for 150 units, they built 75 in the first phase, and they're coming in for the second phase and applying for the permits, we're gonna look at the site plan and say, okay, this council is blessed off on this. If they come in with something different, then that goes back to council for review.
Okay, there can't be changes in density or,
Okay.
things like that. That would also, even if it was an approved CUP for a larger tract that wasn't fully developed out, if they came into us, even pulling permits, we would realize, hey, your density isn't matching up with what was approved, and that would have to come back to you guys.
Okay.
We can bring in maybe a future discussion. A map, our zoning map that kind of highlight the areas that are currently zoned ag, so you could get kind of a sense of where you would, again, someone could still request it to be rezoned to ag, but you would normally see by an area that's already zoned ag be pursued.
Might make sense too, if we do an evaluation like that, to look at infrastructure, because I think we're seeing these in areas that aren't served by sewer. Probably won't be for a really long time, so one of the uses that they can feasibly do that is, you know, profitable would be like an RV park.
True.
Kelly, could you go to the slide where it mentions the registration? So start with that one. So right now, that's what's in chapter 31. And this may be some low hanging fruit for a near term text amendment. We have a rule that says you can't stay there for more than 180 days. And we have this that says code compliance and law enforcement and fire marshal can inspect for compliance. What it doesn't lay out explicitly is how does that RV park operator demonstrate to our satisfaction that they're complying with the code? If you look at the other cities, and that's where we go to that, my research line, they require a register of occupants, and they list what that registry should show, when it's available, who's authorized to inspect it. So, you know, a good, clear rule is always easier to enforce if we're gonna send, you know, Buford or Chad's people out there, or Chief, to go bang somebody's door down because they're not compliant. Let's give them a clear standard that that park operator has to follow. I think that's probably some low hanging fruit, outside the bigger picture of what's the future land use or what's the future zoning designation where RV parks are appropriate. This is probably something that we can implement in the near term.
And Kelly pulled up the comment by Brian about the lowering of the density and also adding some of the standards to require amenities at the RV parks. And we have seen that in some of our newer ones where those amenities really make a difference on the quality that you're seeing.
What are you all thinking about? The Conroe shows a maximum of 180 days. None of the other places do. What are you all thinking in terms of that?
I mean, we're open to discussion with you all on that. I don't think we really feel strongly one way or another, from the staff perspective. To Jason's point, I think it really makes sense that it's really going to be up to, if we are starting to put more of the regulations that are including, you know, some enforcement aspect or, you know, inspection aspect. That's probably not going to be, you know, once a month or anything. I could see it maybe once a year, just kind of help the safety check and make sure everything's looking right and heading in the right direction. Like,
and we don't know how Conroe is
Yeah.
implementing or enforcing the 180 max occupancy.
Yes, ma'am. And that one's interesting because y'all had asked during the workshop for the one off the loop. Well, how do we know they're not just moving that trailer one spot over and saying, okay, I've reset my 180-day clock.
Right.
Conroe has made it a requirement. They leave. Go somewhere
They
else.
have to leave.
They have to leave. And that would be shown in the registry. That they arrived on this date, they left on this date. And if they come back within 30 days with that same license plate, the same name, the same driver's license number, they're gonna be in violation.
And our current ordinance says 90 days, is that right?
We're at 180.
Oh, 180.
We're at 180.
Is it possible? I mean, I think there's a place for 180 and there's a place for a week. Can that be, can we have, I don't know, two policies, but when we do the PD, this one may be one that's actually an RV park for people traveling, kind of a thing. And I think there may be places for, and I know there's a lot of people staying that are working at Meta for a year. I think there's a place for both. I don't personally think we want to say all of them can be 180 days, or all of them have to be a week or.
you know, and really to your point, maybe it's really not the stay that we're worried about. We're worried about people making it a permanent residence. Like, are they removing the wheels and putting skirting up around their RV? You know? Or is it something that at any point of time, whether they're there 180 days or 300 days, they can hook it up to their truck and pull it out of there?
I think that's a good point. So I think we need the play. If we're gonna have all this industry that we're trying to get here, people need a place to
Right.
stay.
Right.
And that's an affordable thing for workers at those
Right.
places.
And I think that's what we're trying to I think that from what I've been hearing on the concerns, it sounds to me like we're more concerned with it turning into a permanent residence where we never see these trailers come and go,
Exactly.
and it becomes more of
Nice,
a
more-
land lease community type setup as opposed to an RV that should be temporary housing. However long that looks, but temporary housing, like it can leave at any minute.
How does this relate, or does it relate to the, RVs up at Scott and White that are some people that are there because they're receiving long-term medical care and some residents?
Yeah.
Does this relate to that in any way?
Susan, those aren't there anymore.
They removed.
They
those.
removed those.
Oh, they did?
Mhm.
How long ago?
Been a while.
Well, apparently there's that.
Well, that's good news. You haven't needed to go to.
Not the emergency room.
But I think that could come,
I
that's
agree.
another reason people might wanna. pretty much
Exactly,
stay.
because, traveling nurses and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree with Mike. I mean, if I were a RV park owner, right, those are rental units. And, every rental unit owner wants good tenants. And so I think to just arbitrarily say 90 days or 180 days, we're gonna run your good tenant off. When, you know, it's like Mike said, somebody working at Meta or somebody working at solar farms or something. I think that's, out of line with what we stand for, frankly.
And it's really, if you have an RV park that's close to a natural, state park or something, for instance, they might want to put some regulation in place like that because you want to see that as a spot with high turnover.
Yes.
I don't think that's the purpose that what we're looking at as an RV park is really intending to serve. So that also might be a consideration.
So
Yeah, I think there's a place for both.
Right.
what Kyle just says, what our ordinance says is that, again, it's not intended to be a permanent residence. And then it's presumed that it's your permanent residence if you're there continuously for 6 months, any 6-month period out of a 12-month period. So technically, you'd have to be there for 6 months and leave for 6 months before you come back. But it is just a presumption, which means it can be rebutted. And that is something that our code people could work with them. If they say you've been here more than 6 months, and they could show that they have, a contract with Meta for 9 months. And so that does give us the flexibility to be able to remove that.
But we could also on a PD, if our ordinance said this, but we were doing a PD, we should also say if this one gave you this PD, we don't want you over a week because it's a vacation travel through RV nice spot.
You can, of course, you can add conditions to a conditional use permit, so
Yeah,
you have
that
that
would be-
flexibility.
This would be the most basically, we could do that with the PD go tighter.
We could work up some way, like you're talking about, that if someone provides justification, I need an exception to policy because I have a 9-month contract.
Yeah, but
We
I
could
think with the way it's
Find a way to
worded,
manage it.
I don't think we could do what Mike is saying because it just says you can't be a permanent resident. It's presumed to be permanent after 6 months, not after 1 week. So I think we would need to amend our ordinance
Okay.
to account for the ability to have different time links applying to
Right.
different locations.
That's ordinance you said, Ted. With Kyle, that's our ordinance.
Yeah, our ordinance, just has that presumption. The way presumptions work is that, if you go to a jury trial, for example, the jury can find that the presumption is enough to convict you. They can find that there are mitigating circumstances in this case and decide that the presumption isn't enough.
To answer your question, Mike, it is possible to regulate at different timeframes for different parks. We might need to make some changes to our ordinance, but it's possible to do that.
Where would we be if an enterprising individual, just to use Met as an example, let's say they had decided to set up an RV park, that they then rented out the RVs? Well, how does that fit into anything? To their workers?
They would still have to go through the same, whether it's available to the general public, or if it was gonna be restricted to their own.
Yeah, but the
Employee.
timing would be, the individual might not be there more than 6 months per RV, and then another person comes in.
Things based on the RV and not the.
Yeah.
Say
There's,
that again. They what?
It's based upon I think it's based upon the vehicle
The
sitting there.
vehicle, not
Not the
not the
person.
person in the vehicle.
Right.
Okay.
there is a section of code that prohibits using an RV for residents for more than 2 weeks if it's not in an RV park. So for example, cousin Bobby comes to visit for Thanksgiving and he parks his RV in the backyard for a week.
I don't think that's the cousin's name.
No.
It's Daddy.
He does our. We know how that would be. But there's code and we worked with code compliance before where
We go
people
after them
ask,
all the time.
can I just live in my RV while I'm renovating my house? And the code says not more than 14 days.
Also, the meta
Discourage them from doing it at all.
The Meta example, and I mean, unless they bought another tract of land, I assume Meta changed it from ag to something else to build their
They did.
stuff out there, so you couldn't do.
I'm not implying
Apart
that in
from
any
that.
way, just
Well,
using it as an example.
I-
Some industrial
I-
entrepreneur, when something else comes into town and they want to do
I
something.
brought,
like
I
that.
brought
They'd
up
be in
Meta because
violation.
I'm pretty sure that I had heard that Meta was renting spots at
That's what we heard.
Mike Beavers' place out there.
We've talked to, I won't name names, but there's been companies that have considered things like that. So it's a good question. It's not out of the realm of possibility that a company who's gonna have a long-term construction timeframe like Meta or, Panda has had that. I mean, there's countless examples
Sure.
where they would explore the possibility of, setting up their own spaces. So I do think it's possible.
Yeah, may not be on site, but
Right.
to have their own space.
So they weren't looking at doing it on the site of their construction activities, and I don't think we would want to encourage that.
Right.
But they were looking at purchasing a piece of property elsewhere and developing it as a park for use by their workers, which would be allowed, but they would go through the same process.
Okay.
The other concern, I mean, for us is that they rent out, or what I've heard is oftentimes they'll rent out hotel rooms. And so all of a sudden our hotel stock goes, or available hotel stock goes way down. It's great for a hotel if you get a 6-month person renting it, but all of a sudden we don't have any hotel rooms.
And no hotel Jackson.
Did you get any guidance whatsoever? Did you just enjoy the conversation?
Was feverishly taking notes. No. I have some things that I think we can start to.
We're not always that helpful. Okay.
I think one thing just to, as you think about this more and you provide additional feedback, if any guidance that is more towards how can we address the root concern, like, rather than trying to figure out, is it 180, is it 90, is it 60 days, what's the right number? If really the concern is no permanent structure, then we can come up with some good language to address those concerns. So any other items as you think through it, just if there's something where you're like, I don't want this to happen. And then once we know what this is, we can try to tailor some language to get you what you need.
Is there any legal way to, like for the 8, we're looking at the age and as she said, which I agree with, we're really looking at what the appearance is.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's subjective. Is there any legal way to? I sent Jessica a picture the other day. It was a joke, but a brand new RV that they put a wrap on that looked like Cousin Eddie's.
Yeah, we can, just like any other nuisance type ordinance where there is some subjectivity that comes into it, but
Probably not a
I
right.
wonder-
Yeah.
First Amendment, right?
It was pretty close.
Roadworthiness.
for sure,
might be-
yeah.
So
The safety
it's-
concerns and conditions.
If it's not roadworthy and doesn't have a current registration, that would be an obvious red flag.
But
I've
as
seen some
far-
going down the road that I don't want to park
Not too
outside.
wordy.
Well, the park itself would need, I mean, what we've addressed with Kelly here recently is some of the stuff we were looking at, the clean out locations and stuff, trash on site that was the property itself, not the trailer. It was the property that had some issues. That the problem is these are tucked away, these are hidden. They're generally not in plain sight, and even my code guys what little time they do have to actually patrol, are not going to jump back into them. When you've got 100 streets to go look at, you're not going to go back into this RV park because that's going to take your whole thing. Guaranteed. And I'm sorry, that's just the way they think.
The specific ones we've been looking at lately, they are pretty visible.
Yeah, and that's more like.
The two.
Yeah, so
looked
speaking
at
of
are-
location, I mean, would it be fair to say that a concern or something that we want to think about is, I'm not sure exactly how to phrase this, but that where they're located is inappropriate, like, you know, that it's compatible with the surrounding development and that you're not necessarily seeing a proliferation in areas that would be better suited for other types of land use. I kind of sense that might be a concern too, so just.
Yeah, well, yes, but you know, that last one that's under consideration that came forward, that was really the first development out there. So there's nothing else developing around it. And I think that whenever there's something like that sitting out there, it's going to dictate future development also.
Exactly.
I think that is the concern.
I agree. That's definitely a concern.
Right,
because it
and
will
that's what I'm saying,
because-
not just compatibility of current development, but how do you see that land use being, the optimal land use for that particular area? That's kind of the sense I get, is one of the concerns is making sure it, and I don't, you know,
That's a slippery slope.
I don't have a proposal for that, but, you know, right now, and maybe we'll give it to the experts and see what they come up with, but just, you know, they're gonna think through that.
As an example for that one, to me, the RV park could be fine there if it's kept up to a certain standard. But if it's allowed to be, and they've been some folks in other town, but the KOA in Belton over the expo looks horrible. I don't want that in my town, period.
Yeah,
Um,
good example.
Next to Kennedy Powell.
Mhm.
Across the street. from
yes, that too. So that's if we can have rules that don't allow that to happen legally, then
So I think the same rules that we can apply to homes, we could apply here, just like we can't just go to a home, so I don't like the way it looks, we can't really do that, but if it's unsafe or unsanitary, or, you know, a list of other
Unsightly.
considerations, but yeah, we would have the same rights, but restrictions similar to a single family home or these like.
If you're gonna have to hire more officers.
And the criteria that you established for developing that in the first place is going to dictate to a certain extent, you know, the initial quality can also help ensure that you've got, you know, it's not perfect, but it can help go to longer term maintenance, you know, so things like the 2018 amendments where we added amenities, you know, help encourage that higher quality of development for park instead of just, you know, super dense, you know, just lot after lot after lot with no buffering or, you know, amenities for that park. I think that, you know, and 2018 was a long time ago, so seems like it was. Yeah, I think it's probably a great time, and especially with our kind of wholesale review of our unified development code. I think this is a great time to look at, you know, what we're doing, what we're requiring, where, you know, where it's allowed. So again, appreciate the feedback from today. As you think about this more, if you share with me, we can get this back on a future agenda to talk more about it. But I think, you know, and I like the way David said, the more we can just think about, you know, what the issue is, and then we can, or, you know, kind of root concern or the outcome we want to see, and then we can try to get there with a set of regulations or rules that will accomplish that.
You know, 2018 is a long time ago. And during that time, from the end of May, the number of people that are using RVs as permanent living now has gone way up too. You know, so it's not just the time, but it's also the proliferation of
Well, with the
sites like
cost
this.
of housing, it's potential to have this demand increase. And these issues to come before, P and Z and council.
Yeah, there's a lot of things.
Yeah, also factors we're seeing, people will work from anywhere these days. Someday
Right.
sell the house, buy an RV and a laptop.
Yes,
and-
exactly.
All right, anything else? Thank you.
I was gonna say the other thing on there was land lease communities. Didn't know if there was any
For what?
initial land lease communities, mobile home park. Land use as well was one of the other items that we were asked to start evaluating. I mean, we're already evaluating that in-house, but if you all have any feedback or additional, again, group concerns that we can start reviewing and coming up with some language to include in our UDC update, that would also be helpful.
I think probably some of that is similar, just,
It is.
is it appropriate,
Yeah.
how can we protect the condition?
Very similar.
Yeah, I want them
I think that's even.
to, I have no problem with them. I want them to be kept neat and orderly.
Trouble is that
And in
because
the right
very
place.
subjective, I agree completely.
I think, our standards on both of these land uses up front and how we, landscape buffers and screening and, reviewing our setbacks, again, density, things like that are all the things that we are evaluating already, but those are the things that if we understand some of the concerns that you all have, then through those mechanisms, we'll be able to.
But we can,
move
there's
in the
some
right
you
direction.
can, there's several now popping up you can see from the toll road headed like around the Hutto where Round Rock area.
Mhm.
You see them off, they look fine. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
There's others around that I don't want in our community at all.
Okay, well, thank y'all very much.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Appreciate you.
Council staff, anything else before I close the meeting? If not, this meeting is adjourned. It is 15 minutes until 5.